Thanks so much for joining us on Morning Live. If you've just tuned into the show, we've been out at the Gordon Institute of Business Science out in Illovo in Johannesburg. We're with Momentum, a 7-year campaign in the making. She owns a success. And then it culminates with the summit, which is a Women Who Make Moves in Sport Summit. It really is an important event because it arms women with the tools to help them both on and off the field. And that transition is key. And if there's someone who really knows all about this, it's former Olympian. She's turned into a broadcaster and a commentator and an analyst, Allysa Conley. I know her off the field, and now we finally get to work together and have important conversations. We were chatting to Nontokozo earlier on about really actually making it practical. It seems like we talk a lot about what we need to do in order to professionalize women's sport and to improve the professionalization, but you know the practical things that need to be implemented. Are you seeing that, and are you happy with the trajectory and the direction that we're going in, Allysa?
I'm very happy, Stacy. Good to be here. Season 7 now, She Owns a Success by Momentum. We flipped the M, made it a W. Who does that, firstly? So congratulations to Momentum. But finally, I've been in sport for 30 years plus. I started when I was 4, and we had this conversation year after year after year, and I joined She Owns Success in season 6, and I've never seen such a short turnaround of decisive action. And that's so good to see that we're no longer just having conversations, but we're actually seeing plans being put in place so that we can rectify these challenges, that we can support women, we can give them a future on the field, but more importantly off the field. Because what happens when they transition? Who do they become then? Firstly, they have to face identity crisis and now career crisis, and Momentum has heard our cry, and I'm so excited for this next days in this month.
I mean, was that something that you faced with a lot of fear and trepidation, was what am I going to do beyond the track?
It's taken me a good 4 years to figure that out post-competition. And, with the relationship and the journey that I have started with Momentum as well, things are starting to fall into place. So it shows the power of the campaign and the impact of the campaign for women in sports. And it's always so good to see. But no one really speaks about the PTSD that athletes face when retiring, when deciding, okay, now it's time that I move on to the next part of my career. But what is that? Because I've only known my sport, I've only known my performance. So how do we figure out where to next? And a lot of the time people expect experience and years of experience, like I said, but athletes come with unmatched characteristics and attributes, things that companies want and need and should really look into, our tenacity, our adjustability, our determination, our hard work. We don't want to lose. So equip us, teach us the skill, and we're going to be one of your best assets.
You could be powerful assets within the corporate space. Nontokozo, I just want to bring you in here because it's so important to create a brand as an athlete. And I think the modern generation, new generation of athletes are really doing it well, leveraging social media. But perhaps a generation just prior to them that are still competing really struggled because they wanted to focus on their particular sporting code, and then all of a sudden they need to learn these skills and these tools. What were you doing to support these athletes, and how were you selecting your ambassadors?
Well, what we think about first is the story behind the athlete. Like you've heard, and have heard Allysa's story now. And we always are looking for women who are successful and want to have a way to sustain their success, which is another important criteria. But then for us, it's collaboration. I mean, we had a very instrumental, fundamental, insightful sports indaba where a few other professional athletes, top of their game, came to talk to us about what the needs are, what the gaps are, what the challenges are, and that's why we've got this excitement today, because we're responding from information and feedback we got from the sports industry.
Don't give it to us just yet. I want to ask you, we've been talking about women's sport for so many years. I mean, I'm sure more than anyone else, the athletes are like, I'm really tired of talking about it. When are we going to see, as you mentioned, decisive action? Do you think there was a gap in not understanding what female athletes really, truly needed, and what do you think they were? What do you think those attributes were?
It's definitely using athletes and the voices of athletes to understand the story and the challenge. And I think most of the time, organizations, federations, corporate companies, they don't listen to the voice of the athletes. We're the only ones that can tell the story because we're out there on the field, we're experiencing life, we're going through the challenges, we're going through the victories, we know what it takes, in terms of struggles, etc. And finally, we are listening to the voices of athletes and we're making the story relatable because coming to this summit, we're not listening to just, professional corporate people speak to us.
What were some of those challenges?
Yeah, I mean, money.
I know that we know that money is a big challenge, but when we say that, for what? What were the gaps that you needed to plug that corporates weren't listening to?
I mean, we want to make it on the global stage, right? So how do we get there firstly?
Exactly.
Are we taking ourselves there? We're training hard, we're working hard, and now we have to worry about, okay, how am I going to get myself to Europe?
Yeah.
I mean, my first European trip, I stayed in a caravan for 3 months. No one knows that. And there was a lot of challenges with that. And I paid my way to stay in a caravan for 3 months just so that I could race, so that the next year I could become an Olympian. So those are the things that they're not listening to our stories, they're not helping us, they're not using our stories to also better their mission and vision of their companies. So firstly that, and then by athletes for athletes. We have characteristics that you need.
Yeah.
You're not going to find an athlete that's lazy to come to work, or that doesn't have good time management, or that can't be the best in your department.
Yeah.
So give us opportunities.
No successful athlete has poor work ethic. Okay, it's time. I don't have my heels on so that I could do something for you specifically. You've been waiting to make an incredible announcement.
Yes.
What is it? Let us know.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
you've got your own mic.
I've got my own mic. Yeah. So as we talked about the Indaba, we listened to the athletes, and this whole agenda of finding other ways to make income is an important one.
Yeah.
As a financial services brand, financial stability is important, and we thought we would actually offer a fund for female athletes who want to be in business.
Wow.
We know that there are athletes who have businesses already, and we also know that there are athletes who have good business ideas. What more do they need? They need funds, they need mentorship, they need coaching, they need financial planning, and then they need people to invest so that they can get the capital to do so. So we are launching a fund we are calling Boost Her Boots Fund. Boost
okay.
Her Boots
Okay.
Fund by Momentum, and we are starting off with 500,000 Rand. We are going to invite female athletes who have represented South Africa on a global stage or their provinces. That's the important criteria.
Okay.
Because obviously we want to work with the people who are top performers.
Yes.
Need support in order for them to continue to be influencers, but also to shape the economy for a community that does so much for our country.
That is incredible, because part of being an athlete is the entrepreneurial journey post your career. So we have been chatting to Nontokozo Madonsela. She's the Chief Group Marketing Officer at Momentum Metropolitan Holdings, as well as former Olympian, and she's turned to a commentator and a sports analyst, Allysa Conley, and they've just announced her Boost Her Boots Fund.
500,000 Rand.
500,000 Rand for national and provincial athletes, which is absolutely critical in ensuring that they have success beyond their playing field. That's all we have time for this morning, but we are going to keep the conversation continuing and rolling.